Hey everybody, welcome to a new YouTube video. My name is Trey Cockrum, and in today's video I'm talking about how to go from literally scratch. So you don't even know, you've never run a business before, don't even know what you would sell, you have no idea what your niche could be or how you would even build your offer or anything, all the way up to $100,000 a month in sales at, a 70% profit margin with online consulting. So, I've been helping a lot of beginners get started recently. So I've been helping a lot of people really get started in this business and understand what their offer could be, help them find profitable niches and offers, teach them sales and, organic marketing and how to book out the calendar and how to work with clients and building their client delivery processes and everything like this. And it's a lot of fun. But, once I get somebody to, about $20,000 a month in sales as a beginner, maybe it takes about a year for some of these people when they really go all in. This mark forward is actually surprisingly easy. And I want to talk about this. So if you don't know, how to start, and you have never run a business before, then I encourage you to watch a video I put out called How to Find Your $10,000 a Month Niche, where I tell you the story of a student that I worked with, and his name was Keaton. And he came to me as a broke college student, basically. If I remember correctly, he actually put the coaching on a credit card. And was just like, screw it. Like, it's either debt and a degree or debt with this. So I might as well do this because now I get like one-on-one support from somebody who's really doing it. And so we said, sure. And I tell this story of how he didn't even know what he was going to sell. We went through breakthrough niche discovery and found an offer, found a marketplace that he can serve in, and got him to $10,000 a month within 3 months. You can check out that video. It's called How to Find Your $10,000 a Month Niche. Okay? So if you're that beginner and you don't even know what you would sell, then I would do that. Okay? Now, in order to get to $100,000 a month, you'll need a couple things. And it's really not that complex. And I think a lot of people, they see this number and they let the number intimidate them. But a quick mindset shift that I want you to have if you're just getting started is that any system has numbers involved. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at the amount of cars that drive on the driveway in front of your house every day, it's a pretty predictable number. Maybe it fluctuates up and down in the mornings and in the evenings because of rush hour. Maybe it goes up on the weekends because more people are going places. But, if you average out a 31-day period, you can say it's about 60 cars every single day. And so a system has within it a given set of numbers. It's all math, basically, is what I'm saying. And when you disassociate the benefit from yourself, you disassociate the rewards that come into your life of making, $70,000 a month after expenses profit, and you disassociate what that would do for your life, and you just look at it like a math equation, then it actually gets quite simple. But a lot of people, they make it too personal, and they involve their emotions too much. And so I want to challenge you today as you're watching this video. Maybe I'm bringing up numbers or making statements that you might not believe, to actually put aside how it would benefit you, your family, and whatever, and just think about it from the unemotional, stoic, mathematic perspective. And this has really served me because in my company, we're trying to grow to $1 million a month. I'm only 23 years old. And so when I tell some people that their emotions get involved, their belief system gets involved, they're not thinking like mathematicians, they're not thinking like engineers, they're thinking like, oh, what that would do, and that's a crazy amount of money, and I've never heard of somebody doing that before, and all this stuff. And so instead of thinking that, I just want you to stay very stoic and very unemotional with me and just think purely about the system. Forget the benefits, forget the personal, just think about the system. And this is one of the mindset shifts that I really coach people through when they're trying to get beyond $20,000 a month up into $100,000, $200,000 a month, is you just kind of have to let go of your emotions and forget about the benefits and just, kind of be almost an unemotional driver of an engine, basically. So let's start about the first step here. First step is obviously you need to pick a niche. Okay, so I encourage you to go watch that video. I want to encourage you to pause this video and go watch that video on how to pick a niche and how to build your offer. You're going to get a lot of ideas on how to do that. Okay, now you need to have a clear niche and a clear offer with an outcome that you're delivering to somebody. So a niche is a group of people with a common goal. An offer is, in our program, we call a CST. This is a customer success timeline, series of actions. They're going to work somebody through to help them reach that end goal. You need to make sure that the outcome that offer generates for that niche is worth paying for. We send students through a discovery process all the time that helps us find these things, okay? And now it doesn't matter if it's a business offer or a personal offer. It doesn't really matter, okay? We've got a student in our program where she helps people heal from trauma. We've got another student in our program who's a leadership consultant and coach. We've got another student in our program who is a Facebook ads coach. We've got another student, we've got literally all kinds of industries, okay? So that's the first step. The second step is obviously to make your first sale. And now upon this first sale, what you've achieved is what I call proof of concept. So if you think about a scientist, they see the world as a set of hypotheses and theories. And they have a hypothesis, they have an idea, and then they go test it in the real world. And testing the real world in their lab, right? Like in the lab. And so when you make this sale, again, you have to kind of be unemotional and forget about the money that's now in your bank and just see it as proof of concept. Like the idea that I had of the offer that I wanted to sell and the niche that I could sell it to actually works, and now I have proof of concept. And a lot of the time, this is the hardest part. I'm going to be honest, 0 to 1 is the hardest part of this entire process. For most people. Now, for somebody like myself, I've already if knowing what I know, I can go and find a profitable niche industry and build a 7-figure consulting business in, about a year or two, maybe less. Because I've done this, and I've seen people do it, and I know how the process works, and I know what questions you gotta ask, and I know where to look and everything. But for a lot of people, who especially who've never run their own business, especially who've never gotten paid for anything other than maybe a job, this can feel crazy. But again, remember, forget the benefit, forget your personal relationship, and just be unemotional here. Okay, we're just trying to stay a scientist, like a stoic scientist. We've got proof of concept. That tells us that this industry is scalable and profitable. Now, a mistake that I made when I made my first consulting sale, I didn't see it as proof of concept. I let my emotions get involved. My beliefs got involved. I was like, whoa, this is a lot of money, and I let the personal... It got personal. Oh man, I think it was $1,500 I got paid. I was like, $1,500, right? I was like 17. And so that's, a lot of money when you're 17. So if you let your beliefs and your personal get involved, it's no bueno, because now you're putting this thing on a pedestal, and what happens when your emotions are involved is you're not thinking in terms of a system that you could replicate. You're thinking in terms of, again, your personal / your benefit / your emotions. So if you're thinking in terms of a system that you can replicate, once you've made this first sale, the second step is making your first sale, which I'll talk about some strategies for going out there and making this first sale here in a sec. Then, and you're not viewing it rationally, then you're probably not going to recreate it. Okay? You're going to think, I got lucky. You're going to think, how do I even make this again? I have no idea. Right? You're going to think all kinds of stuff. You're going to think like, oh, this is just a fluke. But scientists understand that when they, mix one chemical with another and the thing that they were thinking could happen actually happens, that whenever they want to, they can mix those two chemical compounds again and get the same reaction. Over and over and over again onto infinitum. So it's like permanent. That is now proof of concept. You can do this over and over again. So once you have a niche and an offer, all you got to do is we teach what we call the flywheel marketing method, okay? And the flywheel is an engineering concept where it's actually a piece of engineering equipment where you can put momentum into it and it keeps the momentum for later use. And so we have you use online communities to start and just get those first proof of concept sales just to make sure that there's a need for this. And then we eventually move you into building your own brand very rapidly, and you use some of that money that you've made to accelerate the growth of your brand on Instagram. This is what we use, Instagram. And all the students that have gotten to $100,000 a month or more, they're primarily on Instagram. And I'll speak about a specific student here in a moment that does about $150,000 a month in sales on Instagram, and he came to me when he was doing basically zero. And so that's the flywheel idea. So you start with communities like Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, whatever, and then you just get those proof of concept sales because it's like, all right, I found a niche, asked a bunch of questions, built the CST, referenced expertise, found an outcome that people are it's worth paying for people. I'm going to use communities to get that proof of concept, and you eventually move into building your own brand. Okay? And so communities is really time for money. You're doing a lot of manual prospecting. Once you build a brand, it's like it compounds over time, and you can spend some of the profits that you're making back into building the brand. And when you do this, the student who I'll reference here, his name's Connor, he's turning $1 into $9. So now that he found proof of concept, and he found a system that could scale, and proof of concept, he was like, all right, like, I'm just going to blow this thing up, okay? So that's step one. Find a niche and an offer. Use online communities to add value to them. Message people, conversate with them, get on consult calls, and close deals. Now, a lot of people have never sold before. They've never run their own business before. They don't even know what it means to close a deal. They wouldn't even know how to collect payment. And this is obviously what we help people do all day, okay? Now, if you have questions about this, I encourage you to reference my YouTube channel. Whether you buy my programs or not, I want to be your favorite YouTube channel in regards to succeeding as an entrepreneur, okay? I don't want you to feel like there's just like this paywall where I have all the details behind it. Unfortunately, though, there's only so much I can do in a YouTube video. So I'm going to do my best to give you value for free, Obviously, if you want to speed up this process, you just get started with us. But not everybody can do that, and I understand that's why I make this content. So 0 to 1, niche and offer hypothesis is proven. You've made money. Okay, now the step 3, and this is all sub $20,000 a month. So step 1, come up with a niche and an offer. Step 2, get proof of concept. Step 3 is make them a happy client. Okay, and this can be quite challenging for some people because obviously it's a new industry, new market, new niche, and everything. So this is why we have our students build a CST. So what is a CST? Well, a CST is a series of action items that you put a prospect through after they've paid. It can be anywhere from 3 action items all the way up to like 100 action items. Okay, now I don't think I've ever had a student that builds like 100 action items. Typically it's about anywhere from 3 to like 8. And it's just major action items. And these don't have to be things that you're an expert on. This is the really neat thing about this business is you can refer them to other resources. So in that video that I referenced a moment ago about Keaton, who went from 0 to $10,000 a month in his first 3 months, he just referred his clients to the resources that he discovered in his market research process and just put a timeline together. So this is such a powerful, transformative shift that a lot of people don't understand. They think they have to have the expertise and they have to have all the answers. It's just not true. If you look at, for example, Tony Robbins, this guy has sold over $1 billion in consulting sales revenue. So if you look at his business, it's a ridiculously impressive consulting career. And a majority of his consulting sales actually were just sourced from other experts. So one of my favorite books from him of all time is Money Master the Game. And you might be familiar. I've read this book. I read that book like 4 years ago when I was 19. And it's a really good book. And it talks about like basically how to create smart money goals and when and how to invest and how to actually like build wealth and everything. But it wasn't Tony's advice. It was actually just literally every chapter was he brought in another expert on that subject. But then who makes all the money on the back? Well, it's Tony because he has these back-end $5K and, $10K and even like all looked like $50,000 programs on like how to build a great investment portfolio and how to protect your family and all this stuff, right? So he made all the money, but he brings in the experts and he brings in the expertise and he creates a simple A to Z system. If you want to have a great, investing portfolio, do this, then do this, then do this. And it's not just my opinion, these are all the experts that have said it and everything like that. And so you can literally just source ideas. And this is such a mindset shifter for so many people. You don't have to be the expert. Now, if you are an expert, that's great, but unfortunately, the crazy thing is, it actually doesn't help you at all. Because people don't care about your expertise, they just want the outcome. So I measure your expertise in your ability to get people to where they want to get, quickly and with predictability. That's the way I measure your expertise. So why I'm an expert in how people start consulting businesses is because I've helped 23 people get to $1 million a year or more. My top student does over $10 million a year in sales. And he started from me from 0. Okay? So we're really, really good at this. All right? So this is the whole idea. That's step 3, is a happy student. Okay? Once you have a niche and an offer that you've sold, you've made money, and you've made them satisfied, then it's time to start leveling things up. Okay? You want to use this happy student as leverage to increase the price of your offerings. So a lot of people, they start at like $1,000 or $1,500. Once you have a happy student, you have to understand people pay to be in proximity to the people or community or system or process that honestly, that are generating the results that they're seeing, right? And so now you've got this happy student, leveled up the prices of your program, take it from $1,000, and I would encourage you to just shoot for the moon and ask for $5 and just see what people say. And what this is going to do, it's not just going to make you more money. We're not just making more money here. What we're doing is we're giving ourselves gas to use for marketing. That's all it is. Like really, when you make sales, it's just gas and fuel you're going to use to continue to market yourself. And so level up your prices, continue to market in those communities, start building your brand on Instagram the way that we show you how, and use some of this money to continue to build your portfolio of followers and leads on Instagram, okay? Or really any platform. Instagram's just what we use. 6 years from now, might be another platform that's popular. General principle is, if you can just spend to grow your following, you might as well. A lot of people wait to do it organically, but if you want to get to like $100,000 a month year 1, this is how you do it, okay? So that's the next step, okay? Raise your prices. So at this point, you're going to do about 3 to 4 months of posting in communities, running advertisements, growing your brand, talking to people, booking meetings, making sales, and really refining a couple things. You're going to refine your CST, because this thing is never done. You're always going to work on your customer success timeline forever, an infinitum. Like, it's every time you work with a student or a client or whatever you want to call them, you're going to find ways we need to change the process. You're like, oh, they tend to get hung up here. How can I solve that problem for them? And this is why this whole idea that, like, you need to be an expert first is so silly, because honestly, even if you are an expert, you don't even know how to help people yet. You just have knowledge. That's all you have. But you don't know how to help people, somebody get to that end predictably yet. So CST is going to adjust. And the other thing is your sales calls are going to adjust. So your sales calls are going to massively adjust. Because over time, you're going to learn more and more about your industry, and the things that you're learning about your industry and the sort of beliefs that people have and the fears that they have and concerns and everything and how to work around them, that's going to adapt too. We've had students come in who literally go 0-17 on their console calls. So they don't make a single sale for their first 3 months. And in that same year, they do $50,000 in sales. Okay? In a single month, by the way. This is actually my student, Will DeBruin, is who I'm referencing here. He's phenomenal. So these things will refine your CST and your sales calls. And as you raise your prices, you're going to get higher commitments from people. You're going to have to get better at sales, and you're going to have to get better at delivery. At this point, you've gone through a little bit of a process, and you should be doing anywhere from on the low end, about $10,000 a month, to about $30,000 a month. Okay? Once you're here, this is where we have a lot of leverage and we can scale rapidly. Okay? At this point, you need to build into your business a predictable system for booking out the calendar. You need to know that when you spend a certain amount of money and when you do certain activities, you know that you're going to get bookings. Okay? You need to start to have that predictability, that knowledge that you know what it takes to make money in your business. There's no confusion. You've got that predictability. And we help people do this all the time. Again, with Instagram and other methods. Okay? And you need to have just a very numbers-driven system where you know that this input equals this output. Okay, you've got a direct relationship between the work or the money that you're putting in and the amount of output that it's going to create. Now, most people, they never learn to think like this. They will continually just sporadically do things that might help, might not. They don't track their numbers for a month or two, and then because of that, they're forced forever to continue to make emotional decisions about what's going to grow their business. This is not going to serve you. You have to learn what inputs create what outputs. This is how we know, like in our business, we know that when we spend $1 on advertising, that we're going to bring back about 7 every time. Real consistent. And we can take this number to the bank, and that's why we're aiming at doing $500,000 a month in sales, is because a buck turns into 7 very predictably for us. So this is what you're trying to create at this point. And there's a book called Ready, Fire, Aim that I would encourage you to read once you're kind of at this stage when you get to $1 million a year or more. And it talks about one of the first things that you need in order to get to an 8-figure company, so $10 million a year, which is way above this number, but it is relevant, is what he calls an OSS, which is a, I forget what the letters themselves stand for. I think it's, optimal selling system. This is where you know your numbers, basically. You know what inputs create what outputs, okay? And until you have this, you can't grow. You sort of can, but like it's not going to be predictable. And the reason you need this is because you're going to start to make some of your first hires. And until you have predictability underlining your business, making a hire is ridiculously risky. Okay, so my first $1 million year came when I was doing a lot of organic YouTube content. And it worked great, but the problem was I couldn't like turn a dial and then get sales out the back. So I really slowed down on YouTube, and a lot of you have probably noticed that. And I stopped doing YouTube videos because it was like, okay, it worked great. It got me like $2 million a year, but like I couldn't put $100,000 in and get like $500,000 out. It was like I had to put all my time in and I got money back out. But I did know how much effort it took, and I had clear numbers of like literally how many views it cost to get a sale. So like I would just be like, get the views, get the views, get the views. So I learned the YouTube algorithm, all this stuff, and this is what people don't think like this. They never realize that they can. But remember the car analogy. You can really create like a real system around just viewing your driveway. One day, maybe you sit out there and like, all right, I can predictably say that about 42 cars are going to drive by today. And it's like every day, it's just around 42 every day. So it's the same idea. You know, in any given system, there is a mean or a base number that it reverts back to, and it'll kind of do this. But you can bank on the mean. You can bank on that base number. And until you realize the power of this concept, you really can't grow your business. So now, what do? So now that you have a base number you can rely on, you've got an OSS, what you need to do is you need to start to crank the system and bring on 3 key hires. So in our mastermind, the Scaling Blueprint Mastermind, we can actually help people source these hires, and this is why we get people there so quick. But the first hire is a sales rep. Sales rep. So the reason why we focus on packing out the calendar first is because we want to know that when we bring in somebody to sell for us, that they've got a very predictable amount of opportunity, so that they aren't like selling one week and then not selling the next week. We need to have an OSS, right? And then we bring in a sales rep. So I brought in a sales rep back when I was doing YouTube, and it was like literally views to booked calls was my number. I built my business off that number, but I had to like adjust my whole system because YouTube was not going to get me to $10 million a year, unfortunately, unless I was willing to sell my soul to become an influencer. And I just didn't want to do that. Like, I was about to be a married man, and I didn't want to live really flashy, and that's just not the lifestyle that I wanted. And so I changed. So bring in a sales rep. Then you want to bring in somebody who basically heads up the delivery of your program. Okay? So this is, in our company, we call this person a client success manager. Now, you can either hire a sales rep first or a CSM first. Both work. They're both going to save you time. In order to get to $1 million a year, your most valuable asset is time. Okay? Time and probably energy / attention. Okay? And so you're trying to outsource time and energy. Now, a lot of people get stuck at hiring a sales rep. They're like, nobody can sell like me. I'm the only one who sold this before, on and on. But once you just breach that barrier, it's so neat to see people like, whoa, somebody just sold my $5,000 thing, and I didn't even have to be there. And once that happens to you, it's like game over. You know, you're just like, let's just push this as far as we can. And especially once you have a CSM who's in there to do a lot of the one-to-one support and help out. And this is often, for a lot of my clients, a successful student of theirs that they just bring in and put on retainer. This is a great way to do this, because at this stage, you should have a successful student or two. Okay? And then the final hire that you want to bring in is somebody called an appointment setter. Appointment setter. And this is something that you may be familiar with, you may not be. This is somebody that basically hangs out on your social media platforms, speaks with people, and books in meetings for your sales rep. Okay, so your sales rep and your appointment setter work very closely together to basically capitalize on the money you're spending and the time that you're spending to build your brand and build your platform. So you're going to pull people out of that audience, set them on the calendar, and close. And you're going to get a very predictable system at this point, because now, instead of trading time for money, you are now able to trade money for money. Okay, so now you can spend, like in my company, we know that in order to sell $1 million in services in a month, we have to spend about $160,000 on advertising, which is a crazy good return. And so our only variable right now is just building an amazing sales team. That's it. So we're just building up the sales team, and then we're going to get there. And so sales rep, CSM, appointment setter, this person should book anywhere from 1 on a really slow day to like 5 on a decent day meetings for your sales rep. And your sales rep really should close at least 0.5 a day. So at least 1 a day for you. At this point, in order to get to $100,000 a month, all you have to do is just spend more. And then quality control this team. And the way that you begin to quality control a team, and this is, I'm going to reference my student Connor Ricky here in a moment, isn't by aggressive management, isn't by coming down. I've seen a lot of people get to $100,000 a month and lose it because they don't know how to run a high performance team. They don't know how to motivate their people, and they don't know how to keep people involved and excited. And the way that you do this is you just have you can start off bi-daily. Don't do daily meetings, that's useless. But you start off with bi-daily meetings. Okay, so bi-daily meetings. And on these bi-daily meetings, you start off every single meeting with what in my company we call our mission, vision, and values. So our mission is what we're here to do as a company. So, we're trying to get to $100,000 a month in sales, right? Or whatever it is. And you can actually check out, maybe I'll have my editor include our mission, vision, values of my company in the description. So you can check it out. It's pretty sweet. And my company's really aligned around them. And so like I have a head of sales who, when we do a weekly meeting, when I remind everybody, guys, this is our mission. Are we aligned to this mission? And like I had to make a little adjustment recently. I was like, we use the word flawlessly in our mission statement. Like, we're here to help anybody succeed with any background, any niche, in any industry, to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars in sales for them, flawlessly, rinse and repeat. And I was like, we're not really doing it flawlessly. There's like 3 flaws I'm seeing. Can we all agree on this? And so with this mission statement, you can start to have the necessary conversations that need to happen in your company and actually begin to hold your team accountable to, basically the pre-spoken ideal. Without a clear mission, a clear vision, and clear values, when you correct your team, they're going to wonder where it came from. But if you speak these very often and very openly, you can be like, look, man, remember, this is our mission. This is our vision. These are our values. So what's a vision? So a mission is what you're here to do. A vision is how you're going to do it. This might actually be flipped. This is something I recently started doing. So a mission might be how you're going to do it. Vision is going to be what you're here to do. One or the other. But you get the idea. And then the values is how people interact with one another on a daily basis within your company. So this is how we're going to work together to make this happen. And I actually got this from an old mentor of mine, and I didn't take it seriously for the longest time, and I just ignored it. But now that I'm doing it, it's taking my company to another level, because people are like, man, I love the mission here. And people literally work to apply in my company because of the mission and the vision and how potent they can feel that it is, which is just so cool. And so, buy daily meetings, and you start them off with your mission, vision, values. You can check out my mission, vision, values in the description, okay? And you can see what ours are, and you can maybe model ours. So you start with these meetings, and you hold your team accountable to this mission, vision, values. You hire off of them, you fire off of them, you reward and you punish off of them. You make it very clear that at this point, your only job is to hold your team accountable to this mission, vision, values. And if they're really bought into them, getting to $100,000 a month can be very easy. So let's say you are an online coach who helps maybe, middle-aged women lose weight. Let's just say that that's what you do. Your mission is to help, hundreds, maybe thousands of women regain the confidence they had in their 20s, because you feel and you empathize with these women who, they've lost track of their metabolism, or who knows what it is, right? I don't know. And then your vision is, you want to do that by creating a world-class program that works with their emotions, works with their desperate situation, their frustrations, their fears, and gets them out of their situation and gets them results predictably improving. And our values, and how we're going to achieve this as a team, is we're going to be very communicative every single step of the way. We're going to leave no stone unturned on how we're going to serve these people. We're going to be radically transparent in our communications as a company, on and on and on, right? So you can check out mine in the description. And once you have this, you're going to start to create a bit of a team culture. If you, as the company owner, have the leadership, it's just a base leadership skill, basically, of rewarding and punishing based on the alignment or the lack of alignment to this mission, vision, values, then you start to establish a team culture. Your job as a CEO is just to have company culture, okay? And honestly, this is probably a little bit overboard to get you to $100,000 a month. I've seen people get to $100,000 a month and they have the crappiest team culture. You can still make a ton of money, but I'm trying to help you get there and really sustain it, okay? And so when my student Connor started doing this, what started happening in his company was really cool. So Connor, his name's Connor Ricky. So again, he came to me near zero. So he knew his niche, and that was about it. And he was going to help videographers. And now he does about $150,000 a month in sales. And when Connor started doing mission, vision, values, what was crazy is he actually had to unlearn working. So we had a coaching call recently, and I said, hey man, you realize you're a little too involved in your business and you're actually choking your team out. And he was like, no. I'm like, yeah. You take a week off, tell them you guys have it, and just see what happens. And because I worked with him to be a great leader in aligning his culture and mission, vision, values, his team crushed it. It was the best week in his business, and he took the whole thing off, okay? I want you to understand the power of getting people bought behind a mission, vision, value system. And then at that point, now that you've got a clean delivery process, you've got a CSM who works with your clients, you've moved into a delivery system where you've got your baseline course set up. Okay, and this is what we call the hybrid delivery system. Hybrid. This is where you have, you've got a course that acts kind of as the base canon material for the outcome that you're generating for your clients. You've got the community. Okay, so you've obviously moved out of one-to-one support. Your CSM does the one-to-one. You maybe do group calls, and you have a very well-built course, and you've got the necessary one-to-one support where needed. In our program, the Consulting Blueprint program, we hook beginner students up with students that are just a few steps ahead of them. So we actually have a peer mentor system where people can work with people who are just a few steps ahead of them. For that first couple months especially, it's really, really helpful. And so this is the hybrid system. This allows you to scale. But again, it starts with proof of concept at the very bottom. Proof of concept, make your first sale, get a happy customer, raise your prices, take the money that you've made raising your prices, put it into marketing, bring in, set up an OSS, optimal selling system, make sure you're predictable with your numbers. You need to run that system for about 60 days yourself and track your numbers during that time. Then move into hybrid delivery so that you can scale, Okay, you're gonna lose some people because they wanted your one-to-one support, but that's totally worth it. You know, bring in a really talented CSM, a previously successful student in the consulting blueprint program. We have somebody who got his consulting business to $50,000 a month with us, and he was like a leadership development consultant, and he helps a ton, and he's just the most incredible leader because people are just like, wow, like, they can see his results in our program, they can tell that the advice is genuine. And then we even take successful students and have them help us with training material and everything like that. So we create almost an ecosystem within our own company. And this is how you get to $100,000 a month is your sales rep and your setter are working off a numbers-driven system. You now have a cost per call. So it's maybe $200 to book a call, and you know that you close 20% of them. So it's $1,000 spend for a $5,000 sale, so you profit. And at this point, it's just money into money. Okay, and that's the only way to get to $100,000 a month consistently. Now, you can trade other things for this. Like, you can build an organic brand, which is what I did, and it worked great because it was just really warm, high-quality leads that were just total layups. The problem with that was it just didn't scale. Okay, so I looked at my life, and I was like, do I really want to be like a YouTuber for the rest of my life? And I really didn't want to do that. I want to make content that I'm actually excited to make. I just want to add value to people and help people out and just like be a good voice for them and be somebody admirable that they can look up to and model after and everything. But I don't want to have to like do stuff just because the algorithm likes it. Like, I didn't want to have to do that. Okay, and this is how you get to $100,000 a month. Okay, so this is the simple system. This is the simple model and system. Now, there's some stuff obviously that I went over a little quickly on, like, you know, how do you actually track your cost per call and your cost per acquisition? You know, and all these things, and like, you know, where do you put your time and energy once you actually buy it back by bringing in a setter and a sales rep and all these things. But to be honest, the most important thing is this season right here. You want to really make sure that you have a great offer, okay, that it gets great results for people, okay, and that you're getting happy customers. And if you have these things, there's really nothing stopping you from getting to $100,000 a month in the next like 4 months. It's really quite a simple, you know, step up. So if this video has been valuable for you and you've enjoyed this piece of content, then leave a positive comment below and let me know what you learned. I'll be making more YouTube videos like this because it's been a minute since I've been really active on YouTube. I kind of did the podcast thing for a second. That worked a little bit. But I'm like, I like videos like this, talking head style, where I'm just adding value, because to me it's just like where I'm best. And I think a lot of people get a lot from it. So if this has been valuable for you, then please let me know. And yeah, obviously there's details here, but if you have any videos you want me to make, just leave a comment below and I'll think about making those too. So hope you enjoyed.